Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
So Chris, welcome to episode 1 of the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
Episode 1. Finally, we're getting it going here.
It's kind of exciting. I'm pretty stoked to get things going here. I mean, I've got so much stuff that I want to talk about.
Absolutely. We've talked about this for a bit here, and finally we're getting going, and we're going to be on all the major podcast providers, so it's going to be good. Everybody can hear us.
So who are those guys?
So we're going to be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. You can find us there. We're also going to be on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. And we have a website, so you can find us at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca as well.
Cool. Right on. So all the listeners here, if you have any technical questions about podcasting and audio and recording and that sort of thing, please contact Chris Gibbs.
Gee, thanks, Joe.
I'm doing most of the talking right now, and Chris is the digital audio expert here. So if you send those questions to me, they're just going to be forwarded to Chris.
But true, if you have any questions of any sort whatsoever, and non-technical as well, of anything to do with photography, we do have an email, info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. So send us any questions that you have, and we'll talk about it on the next episode. And if you have anything that you really wanted to know about, we'll answer some questions each episode going forward.
And if you don't want to email us, you could also just drop us a message on our Facebook page. Questions there, Yeah. We'll take a look and answer those too.
Absolutely. So what are we going to be talking about during the Nature Photo Guys podcast, Joe?
Well, we're going to cover anything and everything related to nature photography. I'm primarily a wildlife photographer, so you'll see that a lot of the content kind of veers towards that. But, at the same time, I also do a lot of landscape stuff. But the podcast is going to be geared to the rank amateur right up to the season pro.
So anybody can listen. If you're just starting out grabbing a camera for the first time, they're going to learn some stuff.
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. Everybody's going to learn something. And, we hope to learn from our visitors too, right? Our listeners.
Absolutely.
With these questions that they're going to be sending us. I mean, you never stop learning, right?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Well, I've only been kind of serious about this for the last 5-6 years on the nature and wildlife side of things. You've been doing this for like 30 years, haven't you?
Yeah. So what the hell are you doing on this podcast?
Yeah,
5 years only?
Gee, thanks, man.
What the hell?
Hey, that's where we're covering all aspects of photography, from the experience to the, from the beginner to the intermediate.
Okay.
Well, how did you start getting into photography?
Oh, geez. I started way back about 30 years ago shooting in high school for a studio. I still remember the name, Camplex Photographics, out in Sault Ste. Marie, Northern Ontario. Okay. And started doing portrait work, wedding work, and a little bit of commercial stuff back in the film days, So we shot, 35 mil, 2 1/4, which is medium format, and slides,
So did you enjoy being in the darkroom, or do you enjoy the shooting side more?
Just the shooting side more. We had staff, so we had people that took care of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I dabbled a little bit with the black and white kind of stuff. Did some work on color enlarger, but it just wasn't my thing. So
no. Yeah.
And then from there, I ended up moving up to Thunder Bay with the family, and I got a job there at Primary Photo Source. John Istico there. I'm sure he's still giving her.
Still there, yeah.
There. Yeah, you betcha. And my primary job up there was, again, a wedding and portrait photographer.
Okay.
Worked a little retail in the front store, but that was primarily my job. So did that for a while in Thunder Bay. And then almost 20 years ago, moved out west and haven't looked back.
Absolutely, yeah.
So when I got here, I actually opened up my own business. So I didn't work for anybody else like the 2 previous jobs.
Okay. Like your own wedding business, or?
Yeah, my own wedding and portrait business. And, I did weddings for about 20 years, and things kind of tapered off. I kind of wanted to get out of the wedding business and stick more towards portraiture, environmental portraits, that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
that's when my nature photography really kicked in. And so that's how I started, selling prints and eventually teaching and running workshops.
Nice. Well, especially being this close to the mountains, it's living in Calgary. It's
It's
such
an
a
hour,
short
man.
drive, eh? Yeah.
It's an
There's
hour.
so many people that take it for granted that you're
Yeah.
just so close, right? And I think we're spoiled.
Well, I can see it from Calgary.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can see the mountains. So it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Definitely enticing to get out there.
Yeah, you bet. So that's pretty much where I stand, today, right? So, I've accomplished a few things along the way. I got my master photographer in nature photography, which is designation that I'm proud of through the Master Photographers International. So it's a professional organization where you present bodies of work over the years, and you accumulate points, accreditations towards some sort of certification.
Yep.
And so I'm pretty proud that I achieved my master photographer in the nature category. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I did some stuff with PPOC also, got a bunch of accreditations there, and with portraiture and wildlife and landscape and that sort of thing too. So I like the professional organizations, keeps you on your toes, see what's going on in the industry, and you just meet a great group of people.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, I think, well, we'll get into this, but I went to one of your workshops many years ago and you talked about becoming a master there. And yeah, so that was a while ago that you've been that, I guess now, hey?
Well, yeah, back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, you've actually garnered some sort of designation, haven't you?
Yeah, I did. I actually joined MPI as well. And I mean, the people are awesome there. I've learned a ton. And so I'm a craftsman photographer in nature right there, working towards my master's in designation as well. So yeah, so hopefully one day I can be like the master. You.
Oh my God, whatever.
Oh my God, your head's getting big. What's going on there?
Can you see me blushing over the radio or over the mic?
Yeah, there you go. Oh,
But
man.
no, seriously though, it's a great place to learn. You have your work critiqued, see where you can improve or see what you did right, that sort of thing. It's just a great organization, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
so what about you? How did you start out there, Chris?
Well, I've always been interested in photography. My dad was an architect here. I was born in Winnipeg, but I've lived in Calgary
Sorry to
since I
hear
was,
that.
yeah, I know. Well, I'm not happy about it, but no, I'm just kidding. I had lots of family there, so hopefully they're not listening to this. But no, I've lived here in Calgary since I was 2 years old. And like I said, my dad was an architect here in Calgary, but I remember many drives of stopping alongside the road, him taking pictures of barns and prairies and whatnot. And he always took portraits of us. So I was always interested in photography. But as a teenager, I became more interested in video. So when I went to college, I entered the broadcast industry, and actually 25 plus years in the broadcast industry later, I left. So I do photography most of the time now and video, but yeah, video is where it really started it for me. But, I remember in 2001, I decided I'm going to buy a digital camera, my very first digital camera. And it was Olympus
Nice.
2.4 megapixel. Was I
Nice.
excited? So I went back to
You betcha.
Ontario, and we went on a big drive back to a family wedding, and I was like, oh, geez, this memory card can't handle it. I'm going to put it in low so I can make sure I get a ton of photos. And I got back from the trip, I had 300 photos. They were all
Nice.
thumbnail sizes, but, so that was kind of a waste. But yeah, that was kind of where I started getting into photography a little bit more. Always still on the video side. I still had that in the back of my head. But in 2013, I figured I'd take the jump and, try to make a serious go at it. So bought a Canon 5D Mark III, started attending some courses, yours at some times as well. And yeah, so I did that. And really the big thing was in 2016, I entered a photo contest, YYC Calgary International Airport contest. They were looking for photos from around the area for the airport when it was going to open, the grand opening. And I was one of 7 that was honored to be We got our photos at the airport. It's still there today. It's like 10 feet tall, 18 feet wide of my city to Calgary photo. So that was kind of nice. And once I won part of that, I was like, maybe I got something here. So I went further and further, attended another one of your courses and where you talked about MPI, and I joined as well. So I think joining MPI was the biggest thing. If you're a beginner amateur photographer, it's one thing to have your family say, great photo. But is it really a great photo?
And that's the thing, right? I mean, you're never really going to hear anything quote unquote bad coming from family and friends. So it's a very hard way to judge your skill. So that's why these organizations, or getting some sort of a mastermind group together, or a bunch of buddies that are okay with just saying it how it is, to critique your photos and just take it from there. So,
well, you can't learn it if you're not told the truth. You can't learn and move forward, right? So, I mean, it's good critique. Negative critique's bad. Be positive. See how you can learn. Go from there. You and I have talked before. We're good. We like giving critique and in a positive nature, but some people out there don't. But MPI, I find you submit photos and they provide great details of where you can improve on your photos, and I've really learned a ton since joining that organization.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I mean, there's other places you can get critiques too. There's a lot of places online you can sign up. And I mean, I know Art Wolf actually does critiques,
Sure. Yeah.
For a price,
Yeah.
But if you really want to improve, I think having your photos critiqued is where it's at. So
exactly.
And hey, maybe we can do an episode on critiquing images.
Absolutely. For sure. Yeah. But yeah, I know over the last year or so, I decided to leave the broadcast industry, and I've kind of started my own business, video photography, social media. So doing that full time now. But yeah, photography, nature photography is my absolute passion. While you lean more to the wildlife side, I've definitely leaned more to the landscape side. Mountains, long exposure, that kind of stuff is what I really get excited about. Pano stitching, gigapixel photography, that kind of stuff is pretty cool. So I think our listeners will have lots to listen to over the coming episodes for sure.
So if somebody wanted to contact you direct, not related to the podcast, but let's say they had a question about that gigapixel or a panos or something like that, where can they find your work specifically?
Sure. Yeah. No. So I have my own website. So www.chrisgibbsphotography.com. I sell all my artwork, and I'm always willing to listen to questions. So if you want to send me an email, info@chrisgibbsphotography.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram as well at the same Chris Gibbs Photography. And so I'm more open to listen to anything there for sure, and love you to check out my art. And I print everything, the prints under say 17 by 22 home. And I chip everything else out, the bigger stuff, metal, acrylic. I do all that kind of stuff. So if anybody has any questions about printing processes or anything like that, learned a lot over the last few years on that side. So yeah. And what about you, Joe? Where can people reach out to you? I know you do workshops as well.
Yeah, I do workshops, seminars. I teach classes, but basically I made it very easy. It's joedesjardins.ca for my website, and from my Facebook page, and from my Instagram page. So,
perfect.
Yeah, I made it really easy. So, I mean, if you just type in Joe Desjardins, you're going to find me on all three platforms.
Nice. Well, that's perfect. So
yeah.
So if anybody has any personal questions regarding ourselves, they can contact us through those avenues. And if you have any questions, like we said before, about what you want to talk about in these podcasts and what you want us to discuss, info@thenaturePhotoguys.ca.
Oh, that's awesome. That's where it's at. So anything we should wrap up here with, Chris? I think this is a pretty good first episode, right?
Absolutely.
Kind of giving everybody an introduction, who we are, where we kind of came from. But I think the next episode will probably start with something as basic as what we're shooting, maybe gear, right?
Gear. Yeah, sure.
And where we're at.
Yeah, you and I are slightly different on that. Slightly the same on the photography side in a way, but we're slightly different as well. So hopefully people can take from that as well. There's lots of options these days, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And there's one thing I forgot to mention too, that I'm actually a Lumix ambassador.
That's right.
So, and a storyteller. So what that means is I'm sponsored by Lumix, Panasonic, and I shoot their mirrorless camera systems. And I've been at that since 2018.
Nice.
So, I'm going to be bringing up, the fact that I do shoot that equipment. So if anybody out there has any questions on mirrorless or specifically shooting, say the Lumix G9 or GH5 or any of that kind of stuff, then they can contact me directly with that too. So
Absolutely, yeah. And even though we talk about photography most, I mean, like I said, I do video as well. So, those questions are also okay. We can discuss that too. So something for everybody, we hope.
Yeah, you bet. So let's wrap things up, Chris. The next episode will be more of an introduction to our gear and what we use. And maybe in the meantime, we'll have a few questions to answer between now and then.
Absolutely sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I'm Joe Desjardins.
I'm Chris Gibbs.
And we'll talk to you next time.
You've been listening to the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Make sure you listen to all our new episodes on www.thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or visit your major podcast providers, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.